Hey there, fellow stargazers. Ready to explore some astrology books with me today?
Always ready for a cosmic adventure.
Perfect. Whether you're a total newbie or you've been studying the stars for years, this deep dive is for you.
I love that. There's truly an astrology book out there for everyone.
Right. And to help us navigate this literary cosmos, we've got a great resource. A list of book recommendations curated for all levels of astrological
Oh,
expertise.
a curated list. You know I love a good curated list.
Who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
We're basically going on a treasure hunt, unearthing those hidden gems, and sharing the best of the best with our listeners.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so first things first, let's talk about those astrology books that are considered classics, the ones that every budding astrologer should have on their shelf.
You mean like the foundational texts, the ones that have stood the test of time?
Exactly. Two books on our list seem to fit that bill. The Only Astrology Book You'll Ever Need by Joanna Martine Woolfolk and Parker's Astrology by Julia and Derek Parker.
Oh, yeah. Those are definitely considered essential reading in the astrology world.
What do you think makes these books so enduring?
Well, the only astrology book you'll ever need, as the title suggests, aims to give you a pretty comprehensive overview of astrology.
It's like Astrology 101.
Yeah, but in a fun and engaging way, Woolfolk's writing style is super clear and approachable.
And I've heard she throws in some fun stuff about love compatibility and astrological trivia, too.
Yep. So it keeps things interesting, especially for beginners who might feel overwhelmed by all the technical stuff.
Makes sense. It's like a gateway drug to the deeper aspects of astrology.
Exactly. And for those ready to dive deeper, that's where Parker's astrology comes in.
Oh, yeah, that one's often called the Bible of astrology, right?
It's pretty comprehensive, covering a huge range of topics from natal chart interpretation to planetary aspects and transits.
It sounds pretty intense. Is it really accessible for someone just starting out?
You know, it can be a bit dense at times, but I think what makes it so valuable is that it doesn't shy away from the more technical side of astrology.
So it's like, if you're serious about learning astrology, this is the book to get.
Pretty much. It's like having a personal tutor guiding you through the complexities of the cosmos. Plus, it's full of helpful diagrams and illustrations to help you visualize those concepts.
Visual aids are always a good thing.
Definitely, especially when you're dealing with something as intricate as astrology.
Okay, so we've got our foundational text covered. Now let's move on to a topic that I think everyone is curious about, chart interpretation.
Mm.
Decoding those cosmic blueprints.
The art of reading the stars. Sign me up.
Our list recommends a few books that delve into this, and one that caught my eye is Astrology for the Soul by Jan Spiller.
Oh, yes. Spiller focuses on something called the North Node, which is often overlooked, especially by beginners.
The North Node.
Yeah,
What is that exactly?
it's a point in your birth chart that's said to represent your soul's purpose, like your destiny in this lifetime. Kind of fascinating, right?
So it's not just about understanding your personality traits, but also about understanding your soul's journey and the path you're meant to be on.
Exactly. And Spiller does a fantastic job of explaining how to find your North Node and interpret its meaning in your chart.
I'm adding that one to my reading list.
You should. It's a real eye-opener.
Another book that stood out to me was Planets in Transit by Robert Hand.
Ah, yes. That one's a bit more technical, but if you're interested in predictive astrology.
Oh yeah, I am. I've always been fascinated by the idea of using astrology to understand what might be coming up in my life.
Planets in Transit is all about that. It helps you understand how the movements of the planets can influence your life.
So is it like reading your horoscope, but way more in depth?
Kind of, but instead of just looking at your sun sign, it's looking at the whole picture, where all the planets are in relation to your birth chart and how that might be playing out in your life.
That's so cool. So it's less about fatalistic predictions and more about understanding the energetic currents at play.
Exactly. It's about gaining insights into the timing of certain events or themes that might be emphasized during different periods of your life.
It's like having a cosmic roadmap, in a way.
I like that, a cosmic roadmap.
Speaking of unique approaches, the list also highlights The Inner Sky by Stephen Forrest. What's special about that one?
Oh, Force is amazing. He's known for his very intuitive and poetic approach to astrology.
I love that. I think astrology can feel a bit dry and technical sometimes, so it's refreshing to hear about an approach that's more imaginative.
Right. He uses a lot of storytelling and archetypes to bring the birth chart to life.
So instead of just listing traits, it's more like painting a picture of your personality.
Exactly. He helps you see the mythology and the poetry woven into your cosmic DNA. It's beautiful.
I'm intrigued. Okay, moving on to a topic that's always close to my heart, relationships, and compatibility.
Ah, yes, the eternal quest for love. Let's see what our list recommends.
There are two books that caught my eye, actually. One is Astrology for Lovers by Liz Green.
Liz Green is a legend. She's a Jungian psychologist, and her book is considered a classic in the field of relationship astrology.
What makes her approach so unique?
Well, astrology for lovers isn't just about sun sign compatibility.
Which, let's be honest, can be pretty superficial.
Exactly. Green delves into the deeper psychological and emotional dynamics at play in relationships.
So it's more about understanding the underlying patterns and motivations that drive our romantic choices.
Yes, and how to use that awareness to create more fulfilling relationships. It's brilliant.
Now, the other book on the list, Sextrology by Stella Starsky and Quinn Cox, seems to take a more playful approach.
Oh, sextrology is definitely a fun one. It focuses on how your sun sign influences your love life and, well, your sex life.
Ooh la la.
Sounds intriguing. It's lighthearted and engaging, offering insights into what makes you tick romantically and how to navigate intimacy based on astrological compatibility.
It's like a cosmic guide to love and lust. I love it.
Right. It's a fun way to explore the more sensual side of astrology.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already. It's amazing to see how diverse the world of astrology books really is.
I know. And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore.
Before we dive into the next batch of books, is there one that's particularly piqued your interest so far?
Whew, that's a tough one. Maybe Cosmos and Psyche. It just sounds so thought-provoking. What about you?
I think I'm leaning towards Astrology for the Soul. That whole concept of the North Node and finding your soul's purpose is really resonating with me right now.
I get that. It's a powerful concept for sure.
Well, let's keep those books in mind as we continue our exploration. I can't wait to see what other treasures we uncover.
Me too. The Cosmic Library awaits. Welcome back, stargazers. Ready for more astro adventures?
You bet. I'm already feeling like I need a bigger bookshelf for all these amazing books we're discovering.
Aha, same here. But let's make sure our listeners aren't feeling too overwhelmed by all the choices.
Good point. It's like we've laid out this huge cosmic buffet, and now we need to help them pick the perfect dishes.
I like that analogy. So, where should we start? What kind of astrological cravings does our listener have?
Let's imagine our listener is saying, okay, this all sounds super cool, but I'm brand new to this. What's the perfect starter book for me?
Ooh, great question. If they're looking for a friendly and approachable introduction to astrology, I definitely recommend The Only Astrology Book You'll Ever Need by Joanna Martine Woolfolk.
I was thinking the same thing. It's such a classic for a reason.
It really is. Woolfolk explains everything in such a clear and engaging way. Like, even if you've never looked at a birth chart before, you'll be able to follow along.
And she makes it fun too, right?
Totally. She throws in those little tidbits about love compatibility and astrological trivia, so it never feels dry or too academic.
Now, what about the listener who's ready to jump right into the deep end? You know, the one who wants to learn everything all at once.
Oh, I know that type. For them, I'd probably recommend Parker's Astrology.
Ah, yes, the Bible of astrology.
Exactly. It's incredibly detailed and covers pretty much every aspect of astrology you can think of. So it's a great foundation if you're serious about diving deep.
It can be a bit daunting though, right? All that information.
Yeah, it's definitely a commitment. But the good thing is it's written in a way that's still pretty accessible.
And they've got those visual aids too, right?
Oh, yeah. Tons of diagrams and illustrations that make it much easier to understand the concepts.
Okay, let's say our listener has already got the basics down and they're ready to start interpreting charts. What would you recommend?
It depends what they're most interested in. If they're really curious about their soul's purpose and life path, I'd point them toward Astrology for the Soul.
Oh, yes, with its focus on the North Node.
Right. It's such a fascinating concept. Like, what are you here to do in this lifetime? What's your unique contribution to the world?
And Jan Spiller does an amazing job of explaining how to interpret your North Node and apply its wisdom to your life.
Yeah, she's great.
Now, for the listener who's more interested in the day-to-day, like, how are the planets affecting me right now? What would you suggest?
Hard planets in transit, for sure.
By Robert Hand.
Yep. It's like a cosmic weather report. It helps you understand how the movements of the planets are influencing your life at any given moment.
So you can kind of anticipate challenges and opportunities.
Exactly. It's not about predicting the future in a deterministic way.
More like understanding the energy you're working with.
Right. It helps you make more informed choices and navigate life with a bit more awareness.
Okay, now, I know we can't skip this topic. Love and relationships. It's a universal fascination,
Oh,
really.
absolutely. Everyone wants to know about love. What do we have for the love-struck listener?
Well, if they're looking for a deep dive into the psychology of relationships, I'd recommend Astrology for Lovers by Liz Green.
Such a great book. It's not your typical sun sign compatibility guide. It goes way deeper than that.
Green's background as a Jungian psychologist really comes through in this book.
Oh, yeah. She uses archetypes and complexes to explain the dynamics at play in relationships, which I find super insightful.
So it's less about finding the one and more about understanding yourself and your partner on a deeper level.
Exactly. It's about using astrology as a tool for self-awareness and growth within the context of your relationships.
Now, for something a bit more lighthearted, we've got Sextrology by Stella Starsky and Quinn Cox.
Ah, yes, sextrology. That one's a bit more playful and fun.
It's all about how your sun sign influences your love life and your sexuality.
And it's written in such a witty and engaging style.
It's like a cosmic guide to love and lust. I love that.
It's a fun way to explore the more sensual side of astrology, and it can be surprisingly insightful too.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the books that explore the more spiritual side of astrology.
Ah, yes, the soul-stirring stuff. What have we got?
I'm thinking of Cosmos and Psyche by Richard Tarnas.
Ooh, that's a big one. It's considered a classic in spiritual astrology.
Tarnas connects astrology to history and philosophy, which I find super interesting.
Yeah, it's really mind-expanding. He argues that astrology isn't just a personal tool, but a reflection of the grand narrative of human evolution.
Wow, that's deep.
It is. And it's beautifully written, too.
For a more practical approach to spiritual astrology, there's Astrology, Karma, and Transformation by Stephen Arroyo.
Ah, yes. Arroyo is great for understanding how your birth chart reflects your karmic patterns and lessons.
It's like using astrology to understand your soul's journey, right?
Exactly. And how to navigate those challenges and opportunities for growth.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground again. It's amazing to see how much depth and variety there is in astrological literature.
I know, right? It's inspiring.
Before we move on, though, let's pause and hear from our listeners.
Yeah. We want to know what resonates with you.
Have you read any of these books? Or maybe you've discovered some other hidden gems that we haven't mentioned.
Let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts and recommendations.
Welcome back, Cosmic Explorers. I'm so excited for this final segment of our deep dive into astrology books.
Me too. It's like the grand finale of our astro-literary adventure.
Exactly. And we've saved some of the best for last.
Oh, I love a good climax. So, what are we thinking for our grand finale?
Well, I thought we could do a little astrology book matchmaker game.
Ooh, I like that. So, our listener tells us what they're interested in, and we recommend the perfect book for them.
You got it. So let's imagine our listeners saying, okay, I'm hooked, but there are so many choices. What's the book that's going to really speak to me?
I love it. Let's play.
Okay, first up, our listener wants to use astrology for self-discovery and personal growth. They're looking for a guide to help them navigate life's challenges and reach their full potential. What do you recommend?
For that seeker, I'd say You Were Born for This by Chani Eccles is a perfect fit.
Oh, I agree. Nicholas's approach is so empowering and practical.
Right. She blends astrological insights with self-help advice, showing you how to use your birth chart as a roadmap for a more fulfilling life.
It's like she's saying, hey, the stars have a plan for you. Let's figure it out together.
Exactly. Now, what about the listener who's more drawn to the spiritual depths of astrology? The one who wants to understand their soul's journey and the karmic patterns that are shaping their life.
For that soul searcher, I'd recommend Astrology, Karma, and Transformation by Stephen Arroyo.
Oh, yes. Arroyo is fantastic for exploring the deeper meaning behind the challenges we face in life.
It's like using astrology to understand the lessons you're meant to learn in this lifetime.
And to make choices that align with your soul's growth. It's powerful stuff.
Okay, let's say our listener is all about love and relationships. They want to use astrology to create deeper connections and understand the dynamics at play between them and their partner.
Ooh. For that romantic soul, I'd have to recommend Liz Green's Astrology for Lovers.
Ah, yes. Green's book is a classic for a reason.
It's not your typical sun sign compatibility guide. She dives deep into the psychological and emotional complexities of relationships.
It's like having a couples therapist who speaks the language of the stars.
I love that. And for the listener who's looking for a more playful exploration of love and intimacy, Sextrology by Stella Starsky and Quinn Cox is a must-read.
Sextrology is definitely a fun one.
It's all about how your sun sign influences your love life and your sexual expression. It's witty, it's engaging, and it can be surprisingly insightful too.
Okay, let's switch gears again. Our listener is a history buff who's fascinated by those grand cycles of time and how astrology might shed light on the patterns of human events. What do we have for them?
For that cosmic historian, I'd recommend Cosmos and Psyche by Richard Tarnas.
Ah, yes. Tarnas's book is a masterpiece. He weaves together history, philosophy, and astrology to create this incredible narrative of human evolution.
It's really mind-blowing stuff. He shows how major historical events and cultural shifts can be linked to planetary cycles. It really expands your understanding of how astrology connects to the bigger picture.
Now, what about the listener who's a total astrology nerd? The one who wants to learn all the technical details, master chart interpretation, and maybe even start doing readings for themselves or others.
Oh, for that aspiring astrologer, there's no better resource than Parker's Astrology.
That's the Bible.
Exactly. It's super detailed and comprehensive, covering pretty much every aspect of traditional astrology.
It's a great foundation for anyone who's serious about studying the stars.
And lastly, for the listener who's looking for a more imaginative and intuitive approach to chart interpretation, one that speaks to the soul's language, I'd recommend The Inner Sky by Stephen Forrest.
Oh, Forrest writing is so beautiful. He uses storytelling and archetypes to bring the birth chart to life in a way that's both insightful and moving.
It's like he's painting a picture with words, revealing the hidden depths and the poetry of your cosmic blueprint.
Well, I think we've covered a pretty amazing spectrum of astrological literature today.
We have, from the foundational to the philosophical, the practical to the playful.
It's inspiring to see how much there is to explore in this field. So, dear listener, no matter where you are on your astrological journey, I encourage you to pick up a book, delve into its pages, and let the stars guide you.
Keep looking up, keep learning, and keep embracing the wisdom of the cosmos. Until next time, happy stargazing.
Happy stargazing.